Are you
So
recording? I
ready.
recorded on my end.
I'm so ready for this. And you're already busting my balls, which is
Okay,
fantastic.
good.
It is Car Con Carne, and Car Con Carne wants you to know that Siren Records McHenry is now offering curbside pickup and online ordering. Check out their new website at sirenrecordsmchenry.com. If you're in a band, or if you own a label, or if you want to get a product in a real store, message them on social media or call the store. Siren Records McHenry is always looking to support local music. My guest, we first came to know this guy from his days as singer and guitarist in Sick Puppies. He's been writing solo since 2014. He is Shim, and here he is on Car Con Carne from his really cool. Are we in your studio right now?
Yeah, man. Yep, we're in the studio, and I apologize if the internet drops out because I'm in the boat with you where we're just figuring this shit out as we go. You know what I'm talking about. We're just talking about like I'm just turning my microphone and put up a little bit there so I can sit back like this. This microphone is a brand new addition that was a USB microphone that's about 10 years old that I dug out of the shed because my $2,000 condenser microphone decided to take a dump. Are we allowed to swear? We can swear, right?
It's a podcast, Shim.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah.
It took a shit and fucking and just decided to stop working. And I was like, well, I can't just stop what I'm doing. And we were talking about this. COVID happened, lockdown happens. Do you die or do you pivot and continue to survive? And so I didn't really have the lights beforehand, but it kind of gave me an excuse to finish setting up my studio in an aesthetic way. I'm sure you're the same where you get in, you set up your rig, you start working, and you go, okay, cool, I got work to do. I'll finish the fancy looking stuff later.
Right, for sure.
So now I've got a reason to make it look pretty. So I got the records on the wall like I always wanted, and all that sort
Well,
of jazz.
let's talk about the records on the wall. I know we really can't see from here, but I saw a little peek before we went live. These are legit records.
That's the first one.
MC5.
G5. This is actually a bootleg. This is the most valuable in the collection. PS. This is not mine. This is my dad's collection. I grew up with it, but he technically owns it. So these are my records that I grew up listening to, and these are the
See,
ones.
I had you pegged as a 90s kid.
I'm on fucking everything, dude. I started on Broadway. People don't really know that very much. I started on show tunes, man. When I was 5, I was listening to Stephen Sondheim and all those sorts of things when you're a kid, and then when I realized that people like me, my age, could do music as well, that it wasn't this far away thing in the theater, that it was like, oh, you can just put on a guitar and write songs and you're making music all of a sudden. That was when I got into Nirvana and Pearl Jam and all the 90s stuff, the usual suspects.
Silverchair.
Silverchair, I didn't want to mention, but I appreciate. Not I didn't want to mention it. Most people forget, and I forgot for a second who the fuck I was talking to. But yeah, so you know about me. Silverchair started the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
All
So
right, so what else is on your wall?
what else have we got? Well, we got Sergeant Pepper's, obviously.
Obviously.
I got two Beatles up at the moment because I was listening to. I started playing my kids' Revolver recently, so we've got Revolver, and this one here has a permanent place. This one never gets changed. This is
They're all
permanent.
classics.
No,
These are
that's
all
that,
undeniable
that's
classics.
that's the general mantra for every song that I write and produce. If it doesn't, if this isn't at the top of the theme, it doesn't make the cut.
Favorite song off Nevermind the Bollocks.
Oh, God Save the Queen. I'm sorry. I know it's not a deep cut, but it's the first song I heard from the Pistols, and it's always the go-to.
See, I'm a submission guy.
You're a submission guy? I get it. But when he sang that line, she ain't no human being, I was like, that rhyme is fucking dope. I would have never thought of that. For
Yeah.
God save the Queen, she ain't no human being. And I'm like, you can rhyme anything if you just fucking slang it enough. It was perfect.
I met Lydon once. He did an in-store signing at Barbara's Bookstore in Chicago. He did a biography. I forgot the name of the book, but he walked in this really just gorgeous Armani suit, looking very polished, and everyone in there, leather cop coats, spikes, tatted up, mohawks. He just walked in and sneered at everybody, saying, "Look at all of you in your punk rock uniforms, thinking you're so unique."
Yeah, yeah.
Just playing the heel to his fan base. There's something to be said for the way Lydon carries himself and just his whole image and persona. He figured it out.
He didn't figure it out. He's 100% fucking real. He started the band because he was like, I'm not going to be a sheep. And then when people started to follow, he was like, fuck off. Don't fucking follow me. Fuck off. Get
Yeah.
away from me. He was real. He was real. And they became the first sort of rock boy band, so to speak. Like everyone was going crazy over the Sex Pistols. They tapped into that chord. They tapped that heartstring. And the reason they tapped it, which is I think is the thing that gets lost the most in the music business nowadays, is the reason that it was what it was because it was completely authentic. It
Yeah.
was just, it was 100% authentic. It wasn't trying to do anything. And when they finally got their notoriety, they avoided it at all costs because they were like, this is not what we signed up for. We're opposed to this. And then of course it just cycled around. Everyone loved it. They couldn't get it. They want more. We can't get it. Why won't you, all that shit.
All right. So show me something else on your wall.
What else do we got?
I know I saw a record there that excited me.
All right, well, we got, this is a classic. We've got to have this.
Wait, I don't
Sorry.
know what that is.
That's the Jackson 5's greatest hits.
Ah, there you go. Okay.
We've got to have a bit of that. And then what was it that excited? Oh, Iggy?
Yeah, raw power.
And then we got Iggy. Yeah, we got the
Yeah.
classic.
Yes.
So what you thought? You thought I was just a straight up '90s kid?
Oh, I know that was kind of your wheelhouse, maybe.
It was what? Here's the difference. '90s is what made me realize I could make music, but it wasn't where my music. Like I'm the same as you. We're all the same. We love music, which is why I
Yeah.
find the concept of genres hilarious. And that's why you'll find that certain bands love it when they get put in a genre because they're like, oh, cool, we can go on tour. And other bands are like, I don't want to be in a genre. I like to do a bunch of different stuff.
It's
And
the
then they
truth.
wind up becoming that resentful type of artist that you want to tell to go fuck themselves because they do one genre so well. And it's
That's
like,
the truth.
keep on that trap.
If you look at anyone's Spotify right now, there's no way it's all just one style or sound. I mean, I distrust anyone whose playlist doesn't go from like Merle Haggard to Motorhead to Devo to Fantagram. I mean, that's how we consume music. I take it all in.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this about you. When you started to really consume music heavily, were you a deep cut, listen to the whole record, take the experience type of guy, or were you more like into songs, if you had to choose?
Well, I'm a little bit older than you, so for me, it was absolutely deep cut because at that time, the way to consume music was buy records. First record I ever bought was Rock and Roll Over by Kiss, and when you put on a record, you listen to that music for 20 minutes at a time. You don't get up and re-cue the record. You listen all the way through. So, I mean, that's the way I was raised. It's like, I want to buy this record. I want to hear it all. And the beauty of vinyl is you listen to the shitty songs and the great songs. You're immersed in that artist's complete vision for the time
Right.
you're listening.
Right. See, I was different in the way that, and it wasn't, and I would listen to a whole record. I would listen to the vinyls, and when you got a vinyl, it's a hassle and it's a risk when you want to change the needle because if you scratch the record, if you drop it, it's like you put it on nice and delicate, and then you kind of take the right. It's kind of a ritual, right? But I actually, when I remember vividly when I was a kid, and it came back to me when I was holding up that. Oh, and sorry, I've got to hold up one more.
I love your studio.
Right.
The one. That's the one.
Right. This
Dude.
is the record. Okay, so check it out. This is the record that got me started. This is literally the record. It's on.
Keep talking.
Where's fucking Riff Raff? Is Riff Raff on this one? Riff Raff's on this one, right? Dude, you got it?
Dude.
You know it. You fucking know it. Right there, man. That's the thumbnail for this podcast.
That is my pick from their entire catalog. Here's the thing about AC/DC. Growing up as a kid, you listen to AC/DC, they gave every young boy hope. It's a bunch of ugly dudes singing 3-chord rock songs about getting laid. And I'm thinking, listening to them, if they can do it, we can all do it.
That's it. But the difference with AC/DC for me is it was before AC/DC was the first time I heard rock music, I was so lucky that it wasn't fucking like any other band. It was, I landed on the right band to fall in love with rock music. And I remember
Yeah.
being on a plane and my dad, it's anyone who's a deep fan of mine will know the story, but like my dad made me a mixtape on a cassette because my parents were split up and I would fly from Sydney to Brisbane to visit my mom once a year. And I was nervous about going up and he made me this mixtape and it had 3 songs by all the it was all I listened to for a year. It had 3 Bowie songs, 3 Alice Cooper songs, 3 Kiss songs, 3 Beatles songs, 3 Stones songs, 3 AC/DC songs, and it was just back to back. And it was like, and it just played. It was like all the best songs.
Shim,
And-
I have to interrupt you. We're going to be
Yeah.
best friends by the time this is over. Because you're saying Bowie and Alice Cooper, we're going to be best friends.
Right. These are the bands. These are the bands that I think a lot of people, I don't know why they don't talk about them more often. They talk about it if it comes up on Spotify and like, oh, those are the cuts that are on the playlist if you're talking about classic rock. I'm like, fuck classic. It's fucking dope rock. It should be in all the dope rock playlists. I cover Riff Raff by AC/DC at my shows now because that's the song. I was listening to David Bowie and the Beatles and I was like, fuck, this is really cool. It's really different. And I'll never forget it. It was right before the plane took off. and the riff for Riff Raff came in. You hear that build, and then down, down, down,
Uh-huh.
down. I can still get chills when I think about it because I remember I felt my ears change, and like theoretically, it was probably the fact that the sonics were so simple and broad that my ears were like, oh, it just opens up sonically because that record is sonically fucking sick.
It
But then
is.
I remember my ears switched on to rock and roll. I felt my ears change, and I was like, whatever the fuck this is, I'm in. I'm fucking in.
My favorite AC/DC deep cut. I mean, this is my favorite AC/DC album. My favorite deep cut is on here. What's Next to the Moon, which just has this
Really? Okay.
thundering bluesy riff on it.
Yeah.
Talks
Yeah.
about Superman and Lois Lane getting tied to the railroad track.
Yeah.
Uh, God, Rock and Roll Damnation. This
Rock
is
and Roll
Sim
Damnation.
City.
Let There Be Rock was always my number one off that record. I know it's obvious, but like I'm a singles guy, and it goes back around to what I was saying, which was that I used to bounce around on the vinyl between songs, and I didn't really remember it until I was at the Jackson 5. They had like 3 or 4 songs on the greatest hits that I would always go to, and they weren't back to back. So I actually would make my own playlists. Like it'd be my dad would leave the house. I would turn the shit up fucking loud and dance around the room like a maniac. But I would always go back to the player and get to the next song that I wanted to hear. I was always a song guy. I didn't want to fucking take their ride. I wanted to take my ride. So I would go to the songs that I wanted that took me on the ride that I had
You're such a
predetermined.
lead singer.
I know, it's such an ego. Fucking yeah, it's all about you, Shim. Of course. Fucking why are we surprised? But anyway, how have you been? It's been a
I,
long time.
I'm holding up. It seems like, a lot of artists I talk to during the pandemic, I'll ask about, are they inspired to be creative, to do things? And it's about 50-50. I mean, some people are stuck under the weight, this crushing weight of this shared trauma that we all have. Other artists kind of find a path through and find inspiration. It seems like you've been keeping busy. You're doing like these lockdown sessions on social.
Thank you for noticing. Yeah.
So, I mean, it seems like you've kind of found a creative spark in all this madness. And
Well, I feel more inspired than I've ever been.
really,
Yeah.
you're the first
why?
person
You
to
know
say
why?
that. Why?
Because everyone says you can't.
You're one of
Everyone's
those.
like, yeah, well, everyone says,
Yeah.
oh, well, we can't do this, we can't do that. Okay, what else can we do? Well, we don't know how to do that. Well, let's figure it out. Well, but people aren't. Well, maybe they are. Let's find out. Like, but I mean, you can't be inspired. Fucking what? How can you not be inspired? Number one, how can I'm sorry, but I stutter when I think about when someone comes to me, is like, how do you get inspired? I mean, you get yourself and do your job. Do your fucking job. Your job is to write songs. I didn't feel inspired. Fucking figure it out. Figure it out. That's your job. Your job is to write songs and inspire people. If you can't get yourself inspired on a dime, how do you expect to be able to turn other people's emotional state around at the drop of a dime by doing your fucking job on a stage or in a
Well
song
said.
or on a stream? So, no, I think it's fucking great because they're like, oh, you can't go on tour. I was like, great. What else can we do? Tell me what I can't do. Fucking try me.
Well, and one thing you're doing, which I think I like this model for artists to do with fans, a virtual meet and greet. There's something so much more substantive about having a one-on-one session. I mean, because you've done a cajillion meet and greets in your career, and they're always kind of awkward and weird, and there's that assembly line nature to them. But
Yeah.
to be able to connect to your fans personally like this, especially in such a time of isolation, I think that's a really cool thing.
Thanks, man. Well, it's not brain surgery, and I definitely didn't come up with it. But the funny thing is that the reason that I started doing it was because Jamie Lewis from the bassist.net, big shout out to Jamie, who's my bass player. He's been a YouTuber and an online guy for 10 years. And he started doing like bass master classes. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I wish I could do something like that. He was like, dude, he dared me. We basically set a bet, which was like, if we both post a 10-person VIP for me, masterclass for him, who'll sell out first. And I was like, okay, game on. And we fucking went for it. And it sold out. And I thought about it because before my shows on my tour, I would do VIP sessions, and it was a whole thing. It's an inflated experience. We meet backstage in the dressing room. It's decked out. You get a little gift bag. You get like 3 songs. You can request the songs. All I did was transfer that experience to online. The only difference is that at the VIP sessions you get 20 minutes, and when you do the live one at the show, you get 20 minutes, and at my VIP sessions that I sell through my Facebook, you get like an hour and a half.
That's
because
amazing.
because I'm like, dude, it's fair enough. The people are paying legitimate money, and so give them a show. Like they can request whatever song they want. Everyone gets a song request. 10 songs, hour and a half, pretty solid. Great value for them. Gives me something to do. Everyone's happy.
And you don't shy away from playing Sick Puppy stuff.
No, you mean my stuff?
There it is. Yeah. I think it's safe to say you're in a good space, good point as a solo artist right now.
Yeah.
You weren't ready to be a solo act when the Sick Puppy split happened, but you seem like you're in a really comfortable groove.
Yeah, no, man. I think that a lot there was. I mean, for the handful of people who were paying attention at the time that it happened, a lot of people assumed, oh, it's the band's over because he wants to go solo. I really didn't. I really didn't. I did. It's scary. It's awkward. It's like when you're used to being in a band, you're used to having a safety net. Even if by the end and the band's not getting along like the usual bullshit, you're used to it. You're going and doing something completely unknown and different. It was I had to make it exciting in my mindset because otherwise I wasn't going to do anything. But the truth is, it was still nervousness and fear and anxiety. So I had to take time to adapt into doing that thing. But after a little while, I was like, oh, I get to choose the people I work with. I can meet like a few different people for one job and go, no, I like that one. That's going to bring the most value to what I do. And you can treat it kind of like a bit more like a business. And then by virtue of doing that, your creativity blossoms even more because you have more to work with. You have more options.
I knew that your sense of humor was intact. My first exposure to you as a solo artist was Hallelujah. Uh,
Yeah.
More specifically, the video, which
Yeah.
was like that Robert Johnson at the Crossroads puppet guitar battle. I knew your sense of humor was left
Yeah.
Sick Puppies in full
It was
force.
fine. Yeah, I was fine. I thought it was. The thing that I liked about the Hallelujah video is that I knew that that was my first shot, and I'd been kind of cagey. I don't know how you feel about it. It's probably different because you're in a different profession. Technically, we're both in the same profession, but you do a slightly different thing. Whereas for me, I was like, well, people know me as a musician, so I have to just release music and release a music video, and I'm not going to do anything until that happens. So there was this period where people didn't hear from me, and then there was a lot of fucking pressure to be like, well, this has got to be great. And so the funny thing is, I actually made that video twice. I funded everything myself with all my own money, and I made the video, edited it, finished it, done, showed it to people, made the fucking mistake, the straight up mistake of not getting people's input while I was making it. I just made it. And I
Uh-huh.
told everyone what to do because I was like a bull in a china shop trying to get through to the other side. And I was like, go, go, go. And I never stopped and was like, let's get some third party perspective. And I finished it and it didn't work. The video did not fucking work. It was still the same idea, but there was many pieces in the final video that were missing. And I called my wife and I was like, I think I fucked up. I think I fucked up. And I was like, this isn't up to my standards. Like for me, regardless of what
Yeah.
anyone else thinks, I am not satisfied with this. I can't put this out and I need to figure out what to do. And testament to my wife, she was like, just go make it again. I know it's expensive. It sucks. Fucking just go make it again. You're this close. Just go and do it again. So I went and did it again. And I did it properly and I did it correctly and got people's feedback and then finished it and it became the product that you know and have seen. And it now is very funny and pokes fun at the whole lead singer thing that everyone assumed was going down. I was like, all right, if I poke fun at it takes the power out of the
Yeah.
argument. You remove all the power out of it, and at the same time, you just sort of resolve. It's a nice little transition. You take all that shit for anyone who was paying attention. It takes it, flips it, and then we're off on a new direction.
I do want to acknowledge we have a bunch of people watching. Jillian and Denise, Kelly, Edmund, Brian, Andrew, Ryan, Jeff, Mark, Giorgio, Christy, Mike, John, Adam, Carol. Thank you all for watching.
Hey guys, thanks
Much
for coming.
much appreciated. As we're talking here with Shim, and then you're talking about not wanting to be put into one genre bucket, not wanting to be just that easily defined. I think there was probably a lot of pressure for you to be a rock artist. You are Mr. Active Rock. There's certainly a Brand New War is certainly a rock song. That is an in your face song, but stylistically you bounce all over the place, and you still write pop hooks. I mean, you write melodic hooks.
Yeah, definitely. That's my favorite thing. Like I had a conversation with my agent at the time when I was first starting to make the record. I had a version of the record, and he was like, "We think that you should just do the same thing you did before because we know we can make a certain amount of money." And I was like, "Look, I just can't do it." I mean, I sat there and I'm like, dude, I'm not going to give you some artistic spiel about how I'm an artist. I was like, look, and I broke it down and I was like, let's look at your argument. You're talking about one song. You're going down. Biggest song the band ever had. Great. I get it. And we had some deep cuts that were heavy. I said, look at the track record for all of the other singles that the band had. You got Riptides, you got Odd One, you got All the Same, you got Maybe, plus the couple of the deep cuts that are fan favorites and stuff. None of those songs, they're all highly melodic, much more on the Foo Fighters vein. There's clean vocals. There's not. I broke it down for my agent and I was like, the reason that you think that me and my voice is a straight up hard rock only voice is because when I sing those songs live, they rock significantly harder than the album. Sure. And that brings people to the show. So people will like the record, which we know because they bought the singles and the singles were hits as well. So we take that action and then we move it to the show and then you get the best of both worlds. And if you want, we'll produce some videos of live stuff and we'll show that it translates that way. But I gave him informative evidence that not only am I not that kind of singer, but I don't need to continue to be that kind of singer just because it's simple and easy for you. Like we can do the same thing, and I said we already know that we've got that lane covered, and I'll hit that lane, and I'll relate like Hallelujah will be a first single, it'll fit in that lane, and I'll do a brand new War, and I'll change the track listing if it makes a difference to you, but I'm not going to change my album. My album's done. It's my album. I'm doing it. And I was like, this is happening. If you want to represent it, you can represent it, but I'm not changing it just because you think your job will be easier if I do something else. So I did it, and once I explained it to him, he actually sat back and was like, everything you said is correct. We just have to decide if we want to do it." And they came back the next day and were like, "All right, we're in." And then they wrapped me, and we went and got it on.
So I guess the question is, where does all this leave you now moving forward? You're talking about being a singles guy as opposed to a deep track guy. There's certainly a case to be made that you can release songs a la carte. You can just release a bunch of singles. You don't necessarily need to release a full-blown album in the present day. But is that appealing to you, or you want to hold out for another full round?
I don't really care. As far as I'm concerned, my album was a collection of singles. I didn't make it a thing where like it sort of was like from beginning to end. It did take you on a journey, and it was track listed to take you on a ride. But it's mostly just like the songs needed to stand alone on their own. I don't think if you like my style and my voice, you're not going to listen to my album and skip a track. So as a result of that, I don't really care. I wanted to make sure that my album was an album for the first one so that specifically I had something to go on tour. A lot of people said to me, dude, just drop a single. Just drop a single and have something out there. And I was like, I can't follow up I can't go on tour. I can't do a VIP session. It'll just be, hey, play that single and then play a whole bunch of Sick Puppies stuff. I was like, no, I need to do something that sets me off, that sets it off. And then after that, I'll do singles, and I probably will. Like at the moment with the lockdown sessions, we're doing one song a week with the lockdown sessions, and I'm starting to produce them up. The first one's called Isolated, and that's finished as of today, actually. I got the final mix on that. So we're going to start producing those up, and those will be song-by-song basis, but those are collaborative. And the dope thing about those is that they're done to raise money for charity, and they're also going to exist as a time capsule for this period in our lives. Yeah. And it's weird when I was looking back at some of the songs, man, because the first song was called Isolated, and it was like, rock and roll, whatever. And it fucking sounds sick, dude. I'll send it to you after this.
I can't wait.
And then there are other songs that are much more chill, that are really like, and it's weird because I check in with people as I'm doing the lockdown sessions. I say like, hey, how's everyone feeling? The day before, I'm like, hey, let's throw a title up. Who wants to have a go at the title? What's the theme of this one going to be? What's the vibe? And there was a bunch of people that were like, I want something kind of calypso, something to chill out to on the weekend because, like, I've got a bit more time to chill. And we wrote a song called Just Chillin'. And the hook at the end was Netflix must be making a killing while half the world's chilling. And it was like, and as I listened to them, I was like, it's kind of the journey that people are going on. At the beginning, they're frustrated and confused. Then they kind of settle into it and like, okay, I'm going to force myself to relax because what else can I do? And now the last song is called Conspiracy, which is, of course, you know what the fuck that shit's about.
Yeah.
And it's fucking on the nose, dude. We had a couple of guys, Jason, if you're listening, shout out to Jason. He crushed most of the lyrics on the song. He just was feeling it and was like, fuck the White House, fuck the system, fuck the Federal Reserve. He was like, he started throwing up dope lyrics, and we just kept putting them in. I literally, you'll see it in the video if you go to my Facebook page and watch it. I sat back and just was like, fucking write it out. Just write out the whole verse. You're crushing it. I'm not even going to interject. And he wrote out the whole first verse, and we did it. It was dope.
Oh, yeah, when that inspiration hits, get out of the way.
Exactly. Know when to get in and when to get out, man.
I love it. So these new songs are really like the life cycle of the pandemic.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't intended to be, but it's turned out to be something much larger than the sum of its parts. Originally, it was something fun for me to do because I remember thinking, I mean, I'm getting really deep into, and we'll have lots of conversations about this, but the way that this is changing the music business is unprecedented. I'm getting a bit sick of hearing everyone turn around and go, "This is unprecedented." We're dealing in what's the catchphrase? These are uncertain times. I love this shit that people are spitting out. Yeah, we've heard it, bro. We've heard it.
Every commercial starts with that melancholy piano.
Yes,
The plink,
we're
plink,
dealing
plink.
with uncertain times. If you're suffering from erectile dysfunction, this can help you.
Exactly.
You know, like it's just
We're going through this together.
yeah,
Open up a checking account.
yeah. You know what I mean? And we're sick of it. So I was like, we're seeing how much, like you used the word correctly before we started the podcast, pivot. And a lot of musicians are pivoting and a lot of musicians aren't. And I think the ones who aren't pivoting are the ones who think that it's going to go back to the way it was. And anyone who's paying attention knows that it ain't. And the question is going to be, well, what seat are you going to take at the table? Are you going to take the seat at the back with the food that's old, that's half eaten, and you're taking the what's left? Or are you going to be up the front when they pull out the new meals and the hot food, and you're going to be like right in there, you know, taking your fucking plate? Where are you?
Now a cynic or you know, the counter to that would say, well, Shim, you have a huge catalog with Sick Puppies. You already have a platform to build off of. If you are a local or independent band starting out, I think the struggle is a lot more difficult to kind of find your way through or pivot around.
I think you're absolutely right, and that makes this time a great opportunity for those bands.
Yeah.
I think it's a great opportunity. I think if you can't look at this and see the opportunity, it's on you, man. Like for artists, and I don't get it. I don't get it. Everyone before the pandemic was like, dude, music's digital. You know, you got to change into social media is everything. Social media is everything, right? You know, what are you streaming? Are you live streaming? If you were talking about that shit before COVID, it was like, yeah, I'm getting on it. I know, but live shows are king and all this sort of stuff. I'm like, we already were having this conversation before live shows were taken out of the equation. So if you sit there and go, okay, well, we're just prepping to get back on tour and we're not really doing anything, and then you have to build an entire science around, well, what is your online brand? Because originally your online brand was to drive people to the show, drive t-shirt sales, drive all that sort of stuff. Now that's gone. What are you selling? Is it a VIP session? Is it new t-shirts? Is it a stream? Is it a what the fuck is it? I mean, I'm in the process of building everything.
Yeah. Are you a video artist? Do you think visually with your music, and can you express that in some nice 3-minute packages on YouTube?
Yeah.
I agree. This is a time to be inspired. I don't want to diminish the fact that this shit's hard in general. Like a lot of people are weighing, you know, whether it's financial, personal, health, whatever. This is an incredibly challenging time, but the opportunity for inspiration is there, and the need to be inspired and move in new directions. And I tell people all the time, people I work with, take chances. Now's the time to just make shit up and see if it works. We're in this creatively lawless society right now. Do what feels makes sense. And give it a shot. If it fails, okay.
Do you feel like this has really leveled the playing field in terms of, like, for example, I go back to everyone and I go, up until January, I didn't know what Jennifer Lopez's kitchen looked like. And now we're seeing the inside of everyone's house and the inside of everyone's. It's like the curtain is gone. What do you think?
You know, there are purists who will say that there was a great time in music where you didn't know enough about the artist and they were mysterious, and there was a mystique to your favorite bands. I think, you know, that's long since passed, and I think we like that personal connection. I like if a song resonates with me, I want to know more. I want to dive in. I want to know what that artist looks like at home, and I think this is a wonderful time. On a related note, if I'm on a work call or work Zoom call, I'm mad if I don't see someone's dog. I like being able to
Right.
connect with people. Like there's something that's kind of wonderful about all this, and it is kind of equalizing to use a point you brought up.
Yeah, and I think one of the good things is that it makes people very accountable. You know what I'm saying?
Explain.
I think that there's a lot of people who are in the position of being a celebrity, right? Not me. I'm talking about celebrities. I'm talking like fucking big deal people, right? People who the types of people who we've met who are like, oh, no, I'm sorry, we can't publish that picture. My face needs to be left
Right.
for the frame.
Yeah.
Those sorts of people, right?
Uh-huh.
Those sorts of people live in a fucking they're not on this planet. Now, as a result, if they were to start showing what their life looks like, it would completely alienate their fans because they don't live in the real world. Their image and what they put out is tailored to within an inch of its life. And even their social media content is like, hey guys, I'm backstage in my pimped out dressing room with my Dom Perignon, and I wish I could see you, but I'm going on stage in 30 minutes. You know what I'm talking about, as opposed to here I am with my dog. And as a result, if everyone who actually opens that level of access to their fans, if they're not a quality person, it has a negative effect. If you're a quality person who is just a good person who has a good heart and a good way about you and projects good things and doesn't have like anything negative, like seeing things like if my kid walked in and I was like, hey baby, I'm just doing an interview, I'll be out in 20 minutes like I said. If she walked in and I was like, get the fuck out, I told you to da 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 da, that would turn off everyone. And there are people that do that, but so as a result, it's culling the fucking herd in terms of, oh, I liked that person before, turns out they're a
Yeah.
fuck. Don't really
Yeah.
like him anymore. And that's why I'm saying independent artists who didn't have a chance, you got an iPhone, you got a guitar, you've already got your songs. If you're cool, if you're just cool, that cool can now translate. The cool used to be defined by the label, by the agent, by the management, by the other band members, by Facebook's terms and conditions. Everyone involved in like saying like, well, here's what everyone else is doing. This is what works. And now, finally, the truth has come out. Well, no, none of it actually worked. It just worked at the time on a one-time basis, a few times in a row. But it wasn't a fucking recipe. It was
Right.
just everyone doing the same thing. So
And
now,
that playing to those old standards of everything needs to be pristine, everything needs to be super slick and just whatever, just super high concept.
yeah,
Everything is raw and real now. I
yeah. But
mean,
I
we all
was,
have shitty haircuts right now. We're
yeah,
all
yeah. Why do you
working
think
out
I'm
of our
wearing that?
homes. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
I, I
it's
was
all
scared.
about it's all
Were
about
you
authenticity.
Were you scared when you had to start pivoting so dramatically and just being like, well, I've got to do it out of my house. Well, I've got to just make what I've got at my house work? Or were you like, because I was nervous. I was.
I'll be honest with you. I was kind of excited.
Yeah.
I really liked this concept I built for the podcast for the past 6 years. But there was something kind of thrilling to me of I'm going to do this every night now. I was doing it once a week. I'm going to do
Right.
this every night. And this is for one thing, it keeps me on a routine, and I appreciate that in this weird time. But I like the challenge of it. Okay,
Mm.
I need to book guests every night, and I need to be prepared for them, and I need to, be at my best. I kind of enjoy it, but maybe that's my own personality type. But this is I've really enjoyed the pivot.
Yeah. No,
But
I
I have a
agree.
much smaller platform than you. But I mean, I've
What do
enjoyed
you, what,
pivoting.
what platform have you got? You got Facebook? Are you using the same thing? Twitch? What's
We'll
your
say
platform?
we'll say audience size. How about that?
No, man. Here's the thing. I don't have the
I
audio.
didn't write you're going down.
Okay, all right. Well, here's the thing. I suffered from the exact same problem technically because when I started doing live streaming, I literally a couple of people were like, "Hey, man, everyone's starting to do a live stream," and I remember thinking, "All right, I'll do a live stream. I'll do it from a couch." And I remember thinking, I've got to do something. I can't play my songs because if I play my songs one time, then whatever quality that is, like sonically, whatever input, output, microphone, whatever I've got, that's it. It's out there, and then everyone's going to go to that recording because that's my live stream that I did, and then they're going to move to the next thing, and they're not going to come back to me because well, I saw his show. Yeah, it was all right. Yeah, cool. What's next? So I remember thinking, I can't just do that. What can I do that entices people to come back every day, every week, that doesn't blow my wad by just playing my hits one time and they go, well, that was Shim's thing. Let's go to every other fucking band that's ever existed doing a live stream this month, right? Every fucking band and
Sure
every
enough.
artist you've ever heard of is doing the same fucking thing. And
Yeah.
more power to them. You should do it. I've made a point of not doing it because I know that and that was why I put the VIP sessions on. I didn't do it as a calculated thing. I did it because it was a dare. But the first live stream, I was like, maybe I'll write a song in front of people because I can do that all day, every day. I can keep moving that. Or and then it came into collaborating because people started throwing ideas, and I went, all right, cool, we'll write a song together. And because I'm not on a record label, I can do that. P.S. That's why most people aren't fucking doing it. It's not because they can't do it. It's because they're contractually obligated to not. They're not allowed to release it for free and then not monetize it, or God forbid, give it away for charity. Fuck that. Where's our fucking commission?
Exactly.
So I started doing it. And I was like, I could say cunt on my live stream, and then what happens after that? Because I'll say that in the recording session. If I fucking blow a vocal a bunch of times, I'll say it.
Oh yeah.
And then I was like, if I say that on a live stream, people are going to lose all my fans. You can't say that. And then I did it, and it was like, no one cared. No one cared
Because it's real. You're not doing it for shock value. It's a real reaction. It's not a malicious reaction. It's just.
You're actually being totally authentic, and you relax in front of the camera, and it's very hard for most people. I totally understand. I'm fortunate that I was raised in the back of theaters. I've always been on stage. I've had a lot of success on stage. It's just part of who I am now. But if you're getting started, it would be hard for a band to be like, well, I need to run it through the filters of a million processes before it finally goes online and then gets posted and forgotten within 10 minutes. Like, that's fucking heartbreaking.
And there is that ego thing again, going back to everyone having a shitty haircut.
Yeah.
If you're uncomfortable on camera, knowing you're not looking as good as maybe you were in February.
Yeah.
You just kind of have to walk right through it.
You got to choke it down. I mean, that's the interesting pivot, and I like it, and it's become very freeing for me. I mean, it's nice that we don't just have to talk about, well, it's good. So you're doing your podcast, mate. Well, that's great. Oh yeah, my last release did this, and the song was written about. Like, that's nice, but that's not all we can talk about now. We can talk about everything, and then you have to, it's a new world. It's really interesting and exciting.
Yeah, we could talk about AC/DC, Bowie, and Alice Cooper all night long.
See, I'm embarrassed now that I've brought this stuff up with you because you know all the deep cuts and I only know the singles. I was a singles boy, and everyone watching would be like, oh, he's really cool. And then you're going to throw out like names of songs I don't even know. And
I wouldn't do that to you.
Yeah.
But I could get really nerdy with the Bowie, and the Alice Cooper.
No, I'm a singles kid, man. I only know a handful of Bowie songs, just the good ones. Did you feel that? I sent that straight to you, mate.
It's not a handful. That's not a handful. Those are several handfuls. It's a wheelbarrow of good songs.
Yeah.
Handful. All right. So Shim, new songs are being developed live on the internet as this whole thing is rambling along. At some point when all this lifts and you make your trip around the US, we can't wait to see you in some way, shape, or form in Chicago. However that works out. We love you here.
Thanks, man. Thank you for the support. Thanks for inviting me and remembering who the fuck I am. And no, I'm serious. I'm surprised when anyone remembers who the fuck I am. But yeah, I'll be there with the Hollywood Rebellion, which is what we're calling ourselves when we write songs. It's like that's what we're doing because God knows if you were under a Hollywood contract, you would not be allowed to do this shit. And I just love it when people come and hang out. They come onto the Twitch stream, and we were doing it on Facebook. We're doing it on Twitch now, so it's great. It's interactive. You can press buttons that make shit fly across the screen. Fucking get your lyrics in the song. Say whatever the hell you want. It's dope.
That's the new model right there.
Yeah, man.
All right, I'm going to stop the Facebook Live. Thank you, everybody, for watching. That is Shim. He is a downright good dude. We're going to kill the Facebook.